I'm Sheila Hamilton, and this is Beyond Well. It's a podcast for people who want to learn more about the interior and maybe acknowledge that we're all in the process of becoming human. There's nobody who knows more about that than Jen Pastiloff. She had spent many years feeling depressed and anxious and hopeless. She was at war with her body, with anorexia. She left a 13-year waitressing job and said, you know what? Despite my inexperience, I'm going to host my own yoga retreat. She now travels the world with her unique workshop on being human. It just is so great to see this dream come true of this book that is so important for people to be reading right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Brian Goff,
I'm weirdly
always,
emotional.
Right? I know. Right?
Yeah, even though
As
I'm
you
on
should be.
my medication, though, usually doesn't allow for it.
Well, thank God it slipped out, right? Let it fly.
Brian Goff joins us every week. Our other partner, Jenna Lejeune, is in Argentina.
Don't feel too sorry for
Don't
her.
feel
She's
too
in
sorry.
Argentina.
Rude of her.
But the reason that I have been so excited about talking with you, Jen, is because the tenor of your book is exactly what we're about at this podcast. We're saying to people, we all struggle. We're all in this together. And please don't, for any moment in your lifetime when you're feeling like you're nothing, believe it. And that's what you've done here. So thank you, first of all, for writing the incredible memoir on being human. Why are you emotional about it?
I don't know. I don't know. So with my antidepressants, I have a hard time crying. I mean, like, I'll cry if I watch something really moving on a movie, but my own life. But, so for example, if someone does something really, really kind for me, I've seen other people where someone does something really kind for them, they start crying with gratitude, and I feel it on the inside, but it doesn't show. And
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, and I know sometimes people get... Then I feel like really on the spot because they're waiting for me to emote or something.
Right.
I think, I led this workshop this weekend with Lydia Jokinovich, and I was particularly grounded, and it was particularly magical. So I'm just really in my body right now, and I feel really good.
Yeah.
And so I'm really present. So I think I'm really able to hear what you're saying and take it in and let it affect me,
That's exactly what I'm hoping for here. I honestly feel like if we could do this with every single person who came through and let them kind of sit in their own magic for a moment, then we'd succeed.
Oh, I just
right?
got the chills when you
Completely.
said that.
Yeah, so
Completely.
true. This part of what I really love is that you have combined poetry from throughout your life, your the writing that saved your life, the people that saved your life, and woven it through this history of how you've come to a place of just great beauty and health. And so I just want to start at the place where I feel like it to me seemed like, oh my God, am I going to lose this woman in this memoir, right? If I didn't know that you were alive and healthy, it was you.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
You pulled through.
You had starved yourself to the point where you were at 80 something pounds.
Oh God, maybe 90, but I didn't get my period for over 4 years.
Right. But the way that you talk about it, Jen, was so interesting to me because it's definitely in that poetry of it was working for you to control something.
Completely.
Yeah. It had like a quality to it that it was a device for you at that point. Talk about that, if you would, how it became a device.
I mean, it's interesting you say that because I actually talk about this a lot in my workshops. I'll ask people, what do you want to let go of? And the fact is, back in that period where I was like actively anorexic and, nearly dying, I wasn't in denial that I was anorexic. I knew it and that I was sick, but I was not ready to let go of it because it became a device. First of all, it made me feel special, if people didn't think I was like the sickest one in the room or the skinniest, I would have a panic attack. But it's that cliche, but it was complete control. So what happened was my mom was, I don't know, she was having breast implants removed, something, I don't even remember now. And I went and I said, I want a breast reduction. And the doctor said, just lose 5 pounds. I was I was 17 maybe. I was like, lose 5 pounds? What the hell is that? I'm eating cheesesteaks and hoagies, and I lived in South Jersey, and I had never done anything like that, like cared about that, and I lost 5 and then 10, and I started getting all this attention, and all of a sudden I felt like I was worth something. But yeah, it was the first time I felt in my life that I could control something. Everything had felt so out of control, losing my dad and single mom, impulsive mom, and completely about control.
And you do this interesting thing when you're checking in with, you'll have emotional things happen to you. And in order to tell yourself you would like hit your bone or
I'm like, okay, I'm safe as long as I can feel my ribs sticking out or my bones.
So it was almost like a grounding exercise for you. Like just the contrast is striking me so much right now, because you were saying being in my body at this workshop has allowed me to feel so whole, and I can actually feel something here today. And back then you were saying being able to feel my ribs and know that I'm starving myself has allowed me to feel like I'm okay.
Totally.
I just am struck by how people...
That's actually really fascinating, yeah.
How people can rationalize behaviors in order to feel like I'm going to be okay.
I think the word control is the central word there. To me, at least, control shows up in a lot of different kinds of behaviors. It's easy to get captured by what the behavior looks like, whether it's not eating, or it's ordering your life, or it's about excessive exercise, or whatever it might be, but it's the agenda of control. I have to keep a tight grip on all of this. And it's not like you found other ways to control. It's like you stopped the control agenda. You moved away from trying to hang on to things so tightly, right? So it became more about openness and willingness than it was about I've got to tighten the screws ever tighter.
Jen, you also, in talking about this relationship that you had with your family, I want you to describe it for people, because on the one hand, you had this enormous love and attention from your father, and then quite a complicated and somewhat distant relationship with your mother. How did that feed in?
Not distant. Definitely not. I mean, it's funny. My mom's at the Airbnb right now with my son, and runs a business with me. Not distant. That's not the word. My dad set it up in such a way that my mom was the enemy. And yes, looking back now, I'm like, what a dick. You know, I mean, come on. So it was like, it was like Daddy and Jen against Mommy, and Mommy, he, one time, I don't even remember if I put this in the book, where he would ring a bell and my mom would come and we'd laugh. And like, so then, and so then when he died, I felt, oh my God, he left me with the bad guy. And I had so much resentment and anger. And also for a long time was blaming my mom. Why did you let him die? I mean, I said that in my mind and late into my 20s. 30 maybe. How did you let him? So there's a lot of anger. My mom was never distant to me, but it was, I'd say, my, resentment and anger, and I felt betrayed, and
This is how I want to tie these two things together. You said mostly in those years, I learned how easy it is to confuse grief for body fat, your job for your worth, your lack of knowing who you are with the fact that you are nobody and nothing. I wish I could go back, because I remember all the table numbers, how to put an order in, what was on the menu, and I would not wear high shoes or makeup or sneak booze in the back or hide myself in all the ways I did back then. I think that the way that you intertwine grief and loss, and the way that you attempted to try to order yourself with your body weight, was just so brilliant and so tender to yourself, really, in some way,
I mean, I think now, this weekend at the workshop, I had them do an exercise, Dear 16-Year-Old Me. And everyone's was just beautiful, and we laughed and we cried. And one woman really couldn't be tender with herself. And I was saying to the group, isn't it amazing how tender we could be with ourselves looking back, to our younger self? But she couldn't. And so I'm able to be that way now. I was certainly not tender to myself in the moment.
Of course not. Of
And
course
when it
not.
was happening now, I'm, oh my gosh.
Right. One of the things that you talk a lot about and you finally identified was we've heard different characterizations of this inner critic. You call it the inner asshole.
Yeah. And we all have one.
And you're still very upfront with your inner asshole. So now you're writing about your past experiences, how you sort of became human. And when does your inner asshole come up?
Well, let's see. To clarify, I was always human. I think I became more comfortable with being like, this is the human I am. If you don't like it, fuck off. You know what I mean? But
I can't wait to see you on Good Morning America.
Oh God,
and
they're going
Perfect.
Just see how you work around.
Well, do you know I was on Good Morning America with karaoke yoga?
Oh, were
so
you really?
yeah, I'm like, we can tie that in and say, do you remember when she was on karaoke yoga? Well, look. But the inner asshole comes up a lot. Just in the last couple of weeks, I've been going through these depressions, and I'm not sure if it's hormonal. I've started to track my cycle because what's happening? It's like once 1 week. I mean, really bad, like old school. Like, oh God, I wrote about this in my book. And I noticed inner asshole, old voice that I thought I'd killed. And one of the epiphanies I had is that you never kill your inner asshole. You can quiet it.
Yeah.
And you can, it won't be the boss of me maybe, but I think sometimes like,
And I think that's beautiful because your inner asshole, you're not being an asshole to your inner asshole.
No, and
right? I mean, because I think that's sometimes what happens is we get really, really judgmental about our own judgments. We get really, really mean toward our inner critic instead of like, you poor thing.
Exactly.
You're with me and it's just, I know you're trying to help me or make my life work. It's not really helpful. You can stay here. It's okay. I got you. You're not
But you're
going
to sit in the back seat and just keep it down.
That's right. You're not allowed to give the workshop.
Exactly.
Right? But I don't hate you.
No, I mean, but it's, and some of this has come with time, with getting older, with doing the workshops, but I've built a brand literally on being myself and being real. I mean, I want to say, can I curse? I already have. So I have like a hashtag real mother-effing life and real mother-effing life. And I really have come to the conclusion that all I need to be successful in my workshops is to listen and to tell the truth. And the more I just did a post the other day, I picked at my face, which was an old thing, a really bad habit I had in those dark years. Like I would attack my face.
Lots of girls
bleeding.
with anxiety do it. Lots.
Totally. And with anorexia. And I picked at it and I took a photo with like this antibiotic on it. And I put it on Instagram. And it was like hundreds of emails of people emailing me, thanking me. And it was like, this is me. And so a cool thing I think that's happened is people, I don't look at me for positivity, which I love. They look at me for realness.
That's right.
And so it's like,
that's easy.
It's
That's
totally,
you, right?
yeah.
One of the fascinating things that you did as an outcropping of like, all right, I am starving myself. I'm being very cruel to myself. You really limited the ability for you to succeed. But within that framework, so you went to work as a waitress because that's all you thought that you could do. You were the best effing waitress.
Yeah.
I mean, I found that to be such an amazing thing about you is that even within your limitations, you were still the perfect kind of worker. You were.
I mean, no, let's clarify. I was a terrible waitress, but I was just really great people.
Yes.
And so I was, I had all these regulars, but I was always like, oh my God, I forgot to bring them ketchup in the middle of the night. I'd mess up. I mean, I was definitely not, I was always getting in trouble, hair up, but I would sit down people. But I was
But come on,
great.
Isn't that the best
Yeah,
waitress
I mean,
in
That's
the
totally
world,
the best.
right?
Oh my God. I don't
Yeah.
care if you took a little bit of time to get me ketchup. Who cares?
No, and I would tell the truth. People go, what do you think of the chicken pot pie? I say, honestly, no.
It's
Gross. I was so grateful.
Yeah.
Don't you want that with the
Yes.
server? Don't you want them to tell you
I
if it's
know.
good?
I love this authenticity and this openness to your own experience. So oftentimes people will come to me for therapy saying some form of, I've been struggling so hard against my anxiety or my self-criticalness or my depression or whatever, pulling so hard on the tug of war against this scary monster on the other end. I feel like I'm losing that tug of war, so I'm coming to you to pull with me, to fight more. Like, give me better tools to struggle. And I have to say, like, you've got the wrong therapist. Like, we're not trying to win the tug of war against the scary monster. We're trying to put the rope down.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Isn't
I
that
love
beautiful?
That. Yes.
Yeah, I know, it's beautiful. So Jen has this, like, I'll keep saying this book because you're so great that you don't keep repeating the name of your book. So I'm going to. I'm rewarding you for just.
I'm probably just tired. Normally, when I wrote On Being Human, Sheila.
Page 42 says,
On Being Human, a memoir of waking up, living real, and listening hard. God, it's such a beautiful book. There's no wonder that you're going to be incredibly, incredibly busy. But you come out of this place of thinking like, yoga is really helpful for me. And there was like a workshop downstairs or somewhere quite near to where your work was, right? And then it evolves into you actually teaching a workshop when really, and you admit it, you weren't the best yoga.
Yeah, I'm still not. I'm awful. I mean, I'm just like, but what does that even mean? You know?
But talk about that process of how you began to believe yourself until you became not only an amazing teacher, but also led workshops.
Yeah, and well known. I mean, I joke. I'm like, in quotes, you know.
Yeah.
But, well, the truth is, I was doing a lot of yoga, and it was helping me with depression. And my friends suggested to become a yoga teacher, which I thought was just the worst idea in the world. You know, like I'd rather stab myself in the eye. And, but I went on antidepressants, and it took about a week or two before. It wasn't that I all of a sudden was like, I'm happy, but there was this pinprick of light, and I saw possibility. Maybe I will do a yoga teacher training just as a way to escape the restaurant. I did. What I noticed as I was going through the training, and then conversely when I started teaching, is I was a good teacher, and I am a good teacher.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that I am not so bendy or, you know, but I'm a good teacher. And
right. I just want to say this reminds me of you as a waitress.
Yeah.
The form isn't perfect, but the impulse and the generosity with which you do it is really perfect.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and it just morphed into what it is now, which is like, see, I never wanted to be a yoga teacher anyway. Yesterday, I mean, in our workshop, let's say there's 100 people, which there aren't, but maybe 2 people are like, have a yoga practice. The rest have never or once, but it's just context now, you know?
So what do you do in the workshops? And I wish I could have been there this weekend.
Secret. You know, I mean, each time it changes depending on who's in the room and where we are and energy. And but let's just say that by yesterday, it was only 2 days. I mean, Friday night was opening circle, but it was really Saturday and Sunday. By yesterday in the morning, there's 50 women dancing. I call it dorking it out, and just so free. Right. And I stopped and I go, there's no booze involved. It's amazing. You know, it's the middle of the morning.
Yeah.
And just the most, so we get people to become more free.
And it's difficult for people to become more free.
You'd think.
I mean,
you'd think.
Uh-huh.
But it happens so quickly. So maybe that's a bullshit story. And maybe we just have to try again each day. So yes, us all dancing. Maybe today they woke up and they're like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that today. Yeah. But what's possible, you know, how quickly it's possible too, especially when you're around other people that are free.
Yeah.
I call it dorking it out. So it's just like when you're around other people who are authentic and willing to be dorks, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I give less F's what other people think.
One of the stories that really stuck with me was, and you talk to people about, look, you don't have to be the best. You don't have to have the best ballet pose to be the best dancer. You don't have to have led 1,000 workshops to call yourself a workshop leader.
Right.
You have to have this belief that you have something to offer people, and your gift is that authenticity. But then there's this woman who comes to one of your things, and you've known her before because you taught when she was in LA, and she's really persnickety, and she says, like, I just wanted more yoga. I don't want this. Okay, so how do you now, taking care of yourself, deal with that kind of criticism, because the one thing that's going to happen when you put yourself out there is there's going to be lots of people who come back with an opinion of how you're doing.
Yeah. Well, that was many years ago. And so now I'm clear. I don't call it a yoga retreat. I don't call it a yoga workshop. So especially if they're coming on an international retreat, my mom, bless her, helps me. And we ask, like, why do you want to come? And that gives us but I set that from the get-go that this is not a yoga retreat, I don't care. It's like if you come to my thing and you want, because you want to lose weight or like learn how to do a perfect down dog, you're at the wrong place. And I say that from the get-go. So if you still then choose to come, honestly, it doesn't bother me, because that's not at all what I'm doing. So in the beginning I was like, okay, I was just a yoga teacher and teaching yoga, but now it's a whole weird, wacky experience.
So the very funny thing for me is I keep hearing you say I don't care, but you actually really do care, which is so
I totally
antithetical,
care.
right? So she's saying I don't care what people say about me, but the truth is she cares about almost everything she does in the world. She just wants it to be real.
Yeah, I mean, you just said it. At least that's what I'm picking up,
Yeah.
is that you're saying I don't care about what you think about me. I care about your experience. I care about my own personal authenticity.
Yeah.
I care about giving myself to this experience and showing up. I mean, it seems to me like you care a ton.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you didn't particularly give me 5 stars, okay.
Right. And good call out, Sheila, because actually perhaps I was using the wrong language. It's not that I don't care. You're absolutely right. I talk about this in the book, but I don't let it shut me down. So my recovery time is quicker.
Yeah.
So hell yeah, I care.
Yeah.
But as opposed to going, well, I'm never doing this again. I'm never writing again.
Right.
I have 5 minutes a day, an hour where I sit with my ego and my feelings are hurt. And how could they not like me? And then I move on.
That's right.
Right. So not care is the wrong word, but I refuse to let it shut me down or define me.
There you go.
But I absolutely care.
Yeah.
And I'm terrible. I told my team already, don't send me reviews. I'm definitely not hard. I'm totally overly sensitive and I care, but I just won't let it shut me down.
Yeah. I want to just talk about the first time that I met Jen. She was coming to a great party that I had for a bunch of writers, and it was a really beautiful day in Palm Springs, and it was hot, and she didn't have a suit. And if you've never seen Jen, there might not be enough pictures of her on the internet. Haha.
Oh, yeah.
She's beautiful. And she said, I think, the pool looks great. And I was like, I have an extra suit. Do you want to use my suit? And she says, sure. And she puts on this suit that I've had forever, and she's like bombshell gorgeous. And
like a foot shorter than you.
Yeah, but we start getting in the pool, and she says, I have to be really careful of my hearing aids.
Oh, yeah.
And I was so shaken by that, because I was thinking, I haven't accommodated for any disability, because you do not present as a person with a disability. I wonder if you think about that, what the impact is when other people learn, yeah, I'm deaf.
Yeah, I mean, well, also I'm deaf. There's different deaf
Degrees,
culture. There's like
right.
capital D, born deaf. I'm profoundly hard of hearing. So without the hearing aids, it's funny, they're ringing right now from the feedback, but without hearing aids, I can't hear. And I have really bad tinnitus. I mean, honestly, sometimes it's made me want to die. It's so bad. So I have tinnitus and hearing loss. So the hearing aids, I could hear, but I still have to read your lips. It's still
Right.
distorted.
Yeah.
But it's not like complete darkness where I can't hear, at all when I have them in. So that's a great question. I'm actually working on an essay right now about invisible disability and disability, but let me ask you this. What could you have done to accommodate? Like there's nothing really to do.
I don't know. It's such an interesting question, because if I had known that you had hearing aids, I might not have offered the suit.
Oh,
because
you would have.
Well,
Come
no,
on.
because I would have been thinking like I don't want to make it uncomfortable to invite her into the swim pool because I could ruin her hearing aids.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but I mean, that's, you know, we have agency. I'm an adult. I would be like, oh, no, I didn't go under.
Right.
I mean, so the conundrum was I could have taken them out, but then I wouldn't be able to hear and converse, you know?
Yeah,
that's
In
right.
the pool. So
That's
I
right.
left them in and just said, I can't get my head wet. If I had been in a wheelchair, that's another story, you know? So there's also varying degrees of ways that we need to accommodate and that ableism exists. Definitely in this situation, there wasn't anything that you could have done differently. It gets very exhausting for me, not at your party, but in general, constantly to have to tell people because I don't present as, you know, they don't see me signing. I don't,
Right.
My speech is like that of a typical hearing person. And so it's constantly like, oh, I'm hard of hearing. And then, and I just want to wear a sign sometimes.
Right.
Or just shut off.
Yeah.
I want to say something about the tinnitus that you had. You said sometimes it's so bad. And then you said that it's ringing sometimes.
Oh, not sometimes,
Like
all
all
the
the
time.
time.
No, right now the hearing aid is ringing
Okay.
because of the
But the tinnitus is always ringing.
I never don't have it.
So
always.
here's the thing that I'm thinking about when you said to link it back. Let me see if I can follow the thread. When you were saying, well, I don't really care what they think. And then you said, well, I do, but it's not going to keep me from doing the thing that I care about doing. And I feel like that's a parallel to your tinnitus, that it's like if life was about managing the tinnitus and trying to make it go away, your whole life would be, can I still hear it? Can I still hear it? Is it ringing?
100%.
Yeah.
Not, okay, tinnitus is going to be an unwanted party guest. It's going to show up and it's going to come along with me. And, you know, if it's really loud or if it's really quiet, point being, I want to do the stuff that matters to me. I want to do the stuff that I care about that makes my life feel full and rich and meaningful.
Yeah.
Whether the ringing is with me or not. And so when I go to workshops, of course I want people to say like, God damn it, you were amazing. You crushed it. I would love to hear that. And no, I don't love hearing like, why didn't you have more yoga? But what I really want to do is I want to show up and do the stuff that feels really meaningful and rich and full for me, the stuff that I feel like I was kind of made to do. And if the critic in my mind, the asshole in my mind has like nasty things to say, okay, it can come along just like my tinnitus comes along.
Yeah.
And what I also have gotten better at is something that's come with doing it a while in age is I right from the get-go, I go, so just so you know, I have no idea what's going to happen. There may be a lot of yoga. There may be one down dog. And I don't know. And I really clearly set the intention. And the don't be an asshole policy, I own that website, don'tbeanasshole.net. It's really talking about ourselves. But I say, like, you know, you came here, so you signed this imaginary document that says that. I think if we set boundaries or intentions in the beginning and let people know right up front, hey, this is what it is.
Yeah.
What more can you do?
That's exactly right.
And I guess with the tinnitus, it isn't about symptom management. It's not about trying to make all the stuff go away.
No, because
It's
there's
about-
nothing
no,
that
it's-
I have found.
Right. And I think the same thing is true with my experiences. That's the same thing that's true with art. It's not about making it go away and making sure that it always says nice things. It's about hearing it for what it actually is.
100%.
And then doing the stuff that we really, really care about that's worth doing.
I love that. It's also a reminder to me that even if you'd shown up and you were in a wheelchair, I might still ask you to get in the pool and if you want a suit. I would still offer the same thing to you that I would offer to anybody else
And I would
at the
hope,
party.
yeah.
Right?
I would hope.
And that because you so beautifully live with every limitation, everyone lives with some limitation, you know?
True.
I mean, we all have something
So
that we
true.
deal with.
I wish everyone really got that.
It's really, I mean, I can start naming them and it would take the rest of our time. So I won't, but it's so completely true that everyone is coping with something. So why don't we all start acknowledging
and that's also
that
why
from
I
the
think
beginning?
the don't be why so when you were talking about the symptom management, so for me, it's really the way that I survive is having a sense of humor about it. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to get out of bed.
Yeah.
And so, and then some days it's harder than others, but really being able to go, all right, and joke with myself. And
I want to talk a little bit about your son. He's so beautiful, by the way. I was hoping you could come today. But there was a point in your life where you didn't actually think you'd ever be a mother.
No.
Why?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, fear. Fear, and then the thing I'm scared the most of in life, and I work through it every day, is change. Excuse me. Having lost my dad so young, it's like I need to know things stay the same, and change terrifies me. And then because I found my, air quote, calling later, I was 35 when I started doing these workshops and the stuff. All of a sudden, I was like, no, I finally found something. No, I can't stop and become a mom. I'll lose my life. When I was pregnant the first time, it ended up being ectopic, and I was relieved, which is something I could say now that I did not say then, because I would write these little notes to myself: my life is over. My life is over. My life is over. There's nothing that's more untrue now on the other side, having a son.
Yeah. The part of parenting that I think is so interesting for all of us is that we are faced really in a very big way with all of the societal expectations of what being a mom is, and how it should look, and what your kid should look like, and how the kid should be in the grocery store. And one of the things, and if you're not following Jen on Instagram, you totally should be, because one of the things that I just really appreciate is that we see a lot of Charlie with his spilled cereal and the way it actually looks to parent.
Yeah.
Have you felt like it was important to show people, like, this is
that's no bullshit motherhood. Yes.
It's a big, messy, often hard thing that you're doing.
It's so beautifully not curated.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah.
I love it.
Like, curated stuff makes my butthole clench. I will not. And the word influencer, that's why I have this whole thing I've started doing called Jen's Fake Influencer Hacks. I'm like, save money on a cleaning lady by living in a one-bedroom apartment, and like, come on, this is me. And I'm also successful, you know?
Right. Because you have gotten to that point of, you have to get to actually, it's not that you don't care, it's that I don't give a fuck about your judgment of me.
Yeah, or I do, but for like an hour.
Right.
And then I let it go.
But how do you communicate to young people, especially who are so involved in Instagram and so involved in the superficiality of filters and what it looks like to be perfect? How do you say, get there early, don't, try not to suffer?
Well, I mean, look, my mom, everything my mom told me was true. Did I listen? No.
Yeah.
So I do the best I can. Hopefully my book will translate if they follow me. I do have a lot of young people follow me, which is really exciting to me. And
for that
they
reason.
come to my workshops. Yes. And so hopefully by me sharing also how dark of a place I was in, and how I almost died, and how much I hated myself, and that here I am now. And all I mean by here I am now is like, I'm not dead and I'm thriving, not like I'm perfect. Be I think all I can do is be who I want to be, have the courage to be who I say I am, and be her, and they can see that. But I don't, there's nothing to do, it's like.
That's right. Put down the rope.
The most amazing thing for me, Jen, is when you walk into a room, like how much you fill up the room.
What?
No.
Gosh.
Yeah, because you just have an enormously large spirit. And all those years that you spent kind of attempting to disappear. And I'm just so grateful that you made it.
Wow, thanks. I mean, before I forget, I wanted to say one quick thing about when you said that, the tinnitus will always be there. It's just, I forget how you worded it exactly, but this is how I feel about fear. Is like, fear is always going to be there, but what am I going to do about it? And so it really is that same epiphany with the hearing loss, or with everything. It's still there. Just what am I going to do about it? Am I going to let it keep me in bed and never get out of bed? Some days I did, and some days I still do. It's just harder because I have a kid.
I often say in my work that living well is better than feeling good.
Yes.
Take that one. Go
Well,
ahead.
I mean, I think also because
Meme the
happiness.
shit out of that.
Well, because happiness is a myth. This idea that like you're happy all the time,
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no such thing.
Yeah.
Right. Then you've curated your Instagram feed and you've curated your presentation to other people and you've curated your own experience to yourself. And that does not feel satisfying. It feels the opposite of authentic.
No, it terrifies me that I feel like what I'm trying to do is some active resistance. You know, just like I'm just going to be utterly myself, and because we do live in a time that people are completely. It's like real life versus real life, REEL, right?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, you will. I there's a reason that this book is kind of taking off, and it's that I do think there's enough people who grew up with phones in their hands from the time they were 3 or 4 who are just saying this is bullshit. I need a new paradigm. I need a new thought leader, and I think you can be that.
Well, I wish my book was out now. People are like, how can I
When
get
does it come out?
June 4th.
June 4th. Well, it's soon enough. We'll rerun this when it comes out. Yeah.
But I thank you.
Thanks for coming to Portland, and for people who want to learn more, it's through Dutton Books. I pre-ordered it. I guess everybody else
pre-ordered
can.
it, but it. Thank you. But it'll be delivered on June 4th.
Okay.
And out in the world, and I'm terrified and excited. Both things at once.
That's the best.
Carry
That's
it
the
all.
best.
Carry
Yeah.
it all with you. Thanks, Jen. So great to see you.
Thank you.